This is the Full Extension Podcast, powered by the King James Radio Network. Welcome to another edition of the Full Extension Podcast on the King James Radio Network. My name is Corbett Thompson. Thanks for listening to us at jamesisking.com. And our social media, Facebook is King James Radio Network, X is at King James Radio 1, and Instagram is at King James Radio 1. On this episode of the Full Extension Podcast, had a chance to catch up with none other than Zack Konstantinovsky of North Brunswick High School, in class of 2023, and had a chance to talk to him as he was drafted by the Washington Nationals just recently in the 14th round. And he is currently down in Florida at Nationals camp in the Florida Complex League. The actual Florida Complex League season now over, so Zack will explain to you exactly what he's doing now as he prepares to take his journey into professional baseball. So going from North Brunswick to the pros, it's been a journey for Zack Konstantinovsky, and we wanted to talk about it here on the Full Extension Podcast. So without further ado, as a part of my 15th anniversary show at North Brunswick, I had a chance to talk to Zack and get some thoughts from him on his high school days, going into college, and then going into professional ball. So without any further delay, here is none other than Zack Konstantinovsky. Here with me on the phone is none other than number 19 on your North Brunswick baseball program and your Rutgers baseball program. Zack Konstantinovsky chose a different number when he was drafted by the Washington Nationals organization. And so the first thing I'll throw at you, Zack, is your number 41 I saw in your photo, in your Instagram photo when you signed. Is there a particular, was 19 taken, or is there a particular reasoning from that?
Yeah, unfortunately, I asked for 19, but unfortunately it was taken, and didn't really have a choice after that. So I got put with 41, and hopefully it treats me well.
In terms of just the reality of it, is it sunk in yet that you are now getting paid to play baseball? I'm sure that probably when you were coming up through the NBBSA of North Brunswick and everything, probably wouldn't imagine in a million years, but has it sunk in yet that you are now getting a paycheck to play the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I have to wake up and kind of pinch myself. It's a blessing, and I couldn't be more grateful. But slowly it's getting there. I still feel like I'm a little bit on a vacation right now, just waking up and going to learn something new about baseball and going to lift or going to throw a ball. It hasn't really felt like work, thankfully. I'm super excited every morning just to wake up and go out there and do what I love to do. But yeah, no, it's been a great experience so far. I couldn't ask for anything more.
I want to take you back to high school for a moment when, junior year 2022, and you win the GMC championship. And, yourself, Kyle Anderson, Kyle Taraboki, all the pitching that you guys had. Did you think, 4 years later that you're going to be in pro ball?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think so. It's always been a dream of mine. I've always aspired to play professional baseball. Obviously when you're younger, that's what everybody dreams of, right? You dream of getting up every day and just having to focus on baseball for a living. And, that I think the moment would come, yes. Did I ever have some doubts and some scary moments? For sure. But I think, I always grew up wanting to play the game of baseball for a living. I always had, dreams and goals to do that. So every day that I woke up, even in high school, I thought I wanted to find a way to get better so that I can make it to the highest level. And that's what I'm still doing here, is finding anything I can do to get better and get to the big leagues.
I want to go back to freshman year of high school 2020, and that was the year that COVID happened and everything got shut down, and including high school baseball here in New Jersey got shut down, and you couldn't pitch in the spring. And so I'm curious, as you're on this road, like you said, your aspirations are to be a professional baseball player one day. So this was, I'm sure, a major speed bump. How did you stay, because baseball players are creatures of habit. They have routines and things that they do every day. Without playing, how did you you just keep that routine and keep your program going to where you needed it to be?
Yeah, that's a great question. And honestly, I gotta chalk it up to be really, really just thankful for what I have. I mean, I grew up playing baseball my whole life, mainly solely because my brother, who also went to North Brunswick High School, being 8 years older than me, playing baseball all the way through college, just watching him play, and that was my motivation. I wanted to do what he did and play college baseball. So when COVID hit, he was in dental school and he came back home. And again, luckily, thankfully, we were a 4-minute walk from the high school baseball field. So when COVID hit, the field was empty. My brother was a catcher in high school and college when he played. So he would catch my bullpens, and when I needed to throw live, he'd take me deep. I'd strike him out, and he learned how to fail within the game. And honestly, it was a big time. That year was the year that I committed to Rutgers. So Rutgers had actually offered me, and I committed to Rutgers before they even saw me throw a pitch in person. A bunch of stuff there was, recorded, and some showcases started later on that summer. And I was able to commit in August. But that year during COVID, it was a big year, when recruiting starts. So just to keep my program going, to stay active, I was very lucky and thankful to have, the support of my brother to help me out. And obviously, my dad being right there, just watching his two sons play together for the first time, because we never were able to. So just very thankful and happy for, that situation.
Shout out to Victor Konstantinovsky, Zach's older brother, like you mentioned, did play at North Brunswick. And, so now I call Zach Mr. K, and I call Victor Dr. K, because as Zach mentioned, he's a dentist now. So, did it take a while? Once you hit sophomore year, not having pitched that year, you pitched in the last dance tournament in the summer, but that was maybe a game or so. Did you need that sophomore year just to get back on track again?
Yeah, I mean, this is going back a little bit, so I don't remember exactly too much, but from what I can remember, I think it was still a solid year for me, being a sophomore, really honestly being, a freshman, not having pitched in high school baseball before. That's what it kind of felt like, just jumping into, a big ocean, feeling like a little fish. Um, it was definitely an adjustment. And I think, as the year progressed, I think I got better. But I think the biggest takeaway was I learned, what I needed to do to get better for the next year, to come back and perform the way we did and win the championship.
And those next 2 years, junior and senior year, I don't, and I'm not just saying this because you're here with me, but I've been saying, for anybody that'll listen, Zack Konstantinovsky was the best pitcher in New Jersey for 2 years, junior and senior year. Yeah, I'm dead serious. So anybody, don't at me, don't try to debate with me. He just hardly walked anybody, was always around the plate. And even though guys knew that you were going to be around the plate, most times they still couldn't catch up to you. And speaking of which, I wanted to talk about, like, what do you feel like your best high school game was? I could throw out a few. I could, like the 18 strikeout game against Steinert, or winning the GMC championship against St. Joe's, or my personal favorite was when you went down to Northern Burlington in the state playoffs in the quarterfinals, and you went down there, short field, outfield, home run, or hitter's park rather. And Drew Wires was the top home run hitter in the state for Burlington that year. You went down there, 4-hit shutout, 9 strikeouts. You guys win 3-0, no problem. So I'm curious to know, though, do you have a best game in high school?
Yeah, I mean, that one definitely sticks out. Obviously, the GMC championship sticks out. I think the biggest one for me was, that 18 strikeout game, that autism awareness tournament. Although we didn't win that game, I think that was more personal for me. I grew up every year. Mike Garlotti started that tournament, which was awesome. The autism awareness tournament, for anybody who doesn't know, is a great, great tournament. Definitely should be seen. But he started that, and Mike Garlotti started the Baseball Warehouse where I played. So I'm definitely a little biased there, but I always looked up to Mike Garlotti, being the East Coast scout for the Colorado Rockies. I always had that, I think in the back of my mind to impress him here and there, and I always took his word very heavily. And again, that being at the home park, North Brunswick Community Park, where I grew up playing in front of, hundreds of people. I always dreamt of throwing, under the lights at that field with people watching me. So I think coming out there and performing the way I did was very memorable, and I'll always remember that game.
Every start in my mind. Now I'm this isn't me. This is me now. Every start you had in my mind. That's why I called it a Z Day, because that's where it came from. Was whenever you took the mound, I did not want to miss a Z Day. If I had to work that day, I made sure I got off early. If I couldn't get off early, I was highly upset. And just every start that you had was must see for me. So that's where the Z Day thing came from. Just in case you ever, but I'm curious though, because now I'm celebrating, my 15th anniversary with King James, and so I'm curious if you have any moments, any King James moments that stick out for you. If you don't, it's okay. But I was just curious if you did.
I think the call of just winning the GMC championship and having the GMC championship, the first GMC championship for North Brunswick, be on your radio and having that call was awesome. That sound, that voice of kind of timing it up when me throwing the glove up in the air and hearing your voice and calling that game was super memorable. And I think for all the people who weren't able to make it out to the games are super appreciative, and very happy to have someone like you calling those games. Great voice to hear, great things that you talk about on the radio. So I'm really grateful, and I want to thank you for the last 15 years putting in the time that you did with North Brunswick.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Again, talking with Zack Konstantinovsky, who was just recently drafted by the Washington Nationals in the 14th round. And I'll start to transition more towards that now, as I'll kind of move on to Rutgers. What are some of those additional pitches that you were able to develop? Usually, high school pitchers, fastball, curveball, or your top two. But what are some of those additional pitches that you were able to work in while you were at Rutgers?
The fastball and then the changeup, those two pitches have always been pretty consistent for me. Maybe some tweaks here and there with the fastball. Maybe location or the grip really has kind of stayed the same. It's just kind of a comfort thing. And the changeup has always been there. That's been my go-to swing and miss pitch, and that's kind of my, thing that I go to. Any time the count, I'm ready to throw that. And then I think everything else is just kind of evolving. I learned a cutter and a sweeper, and then kind of pitches here and there. You mix in, you try to tweak them, whether it's a two seam or a different type of slider or fixing the cutter. The two main pitches that I kind of developed through Rutgers was a cutter and more of a traditional sweeper, that I started to throw. For sure had that 4-pitch mix this year, the last year junior at Rutgers.
You mentioned your father earlier, watching you and Victor during 2020, but and this question is more for him, more for Boris. But I'm curious, was he the one person that understood you better than anyone, that knew what you could and couldn't do? Like, was he that guy that, like I said, understood you better than anybody?
Yeah, that's gonna be a loaded question. You're gonna start a big debate between my brother and my dad, but yeah, I mean, either one of those two, they will say that they know me better than I know myself, I guess. But it's just because of how supportive they've been, through my career. My mom will probably get in this conversation too and say she knows me better, but my brother's going to play hardball and he's going to try to fight for the top spot up there. But all of them have really supported me so much throughout, the years that I've been playing and continue to do so. And I think them doing that, they have the ability to know what I'm thinking on the mound when nobody else does. But again, it just goes back to, how supportive they've been and they've been in my corner for, ever since I stepped onto the field.
Now, since getting drafted, I know it hasn't been a very long time yet, but take me through a typical day of, what you might be doing while you're there. You're in the Florida Complex League, if I'm correct, with the Nationals. So take me through a typical day of what you might be doing.
Yeah, so the Florida Complex League actually just ended last week. So now we're kind of in what they call a bridge league, which is not anything official. It's kind of just you play games, do some live at bats, to kind of, again, as the name goes, bridge the gap between the minor leagues ending, um, and the off season kind of starting. So right now it's kind of just a development phase. Last week they got all the draftees come in, kind of got a draft week, got our feet wet, threw off a mound one time, just playing catch here and there, learning the philosophy of, the Washington Nationals and getting a lot of good information. And then kind of them handing you information about yourself and what you need to do to get better and what they think you need to do to get better. So it's been a really cool experience. Now, typically, again, it depends on, um, what if I'm throwing a bullpen or just regular play catch. But typically, I'll wake up around 7 o'clock in the morning, get to the complex around 7:45, 8 a.m. Eat some breakfast, and then get out to the field, start doing some prep, all the things I need to do to get ready to throw. And then if it's a regular throw day, it'll just be some conditioning after, some arm care, getting the body prepared and recovered for your next high intent day. And actually today I threw a bullpen, so I was able to get a lift in after that. And as you're throwing the bullpen, you just get to learn more about the different types of pitches and what's going on within your bullpen. Coaches right there helping you out and kind of developing you, which has been cool to see. And then, after that, you kind of have some free time. You got to get to bed early to wake up at 7 a.m. But luckily, I'm going to get a spot in West Palm Beach where, things and off the field as soon as much as I can to get better on the field.
Now, is this the first time that you've had to, or maybe you're not there yet, or have they talked to you about working in a 5-man rotation as you reach that point yet?
It unfortunately, I don't think that will happen. So the minor leagues is more of a weekly game basis. So not too sure. Every organization does it a little different. Right now, they kind of haven't communicated too much of what's going on. I think they're planning to have me throw a little bit out here in the Bridge League, and if they want me to go out to an affiliate to finish off the year, I will. If not, I'll just be pitching here, developing and preparing to get out in spring training next year. But I'm excited for that opportunity. If it does come this year, next year, I just I'm excited to learn from these guys. I'm really enjoying it and excited to get out there and compete.
I'm sure the goal for you is to be a starter, but is there so there was no you don't know yet if you're going to be starting or coming out of the bullpen or what have you.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm not too sure, but I've always been a starter, and I'm sure whatever they recommend, I'll be doing. I'm going out there to get better and compete for my team. So whether that's starting, relieving, closing, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to go out there and compete.
You know what's going to be glorious for me. Now for those Zach is a Yankees fan, and over the years I've ripped on Zach for being a Yankee fan because I'm a Mets fan. But what's going to be glorious for me is the day comes where you are a Washington National and you get on the mound at Yankee Stadium and you have to face Aaron Judge and you strike him out. That's going to be a great day for me. I might even buy your family champagne. So I'm just so looking forward to that.
Yeah, I mean, me and you both. Once a Yankees fan, but now a Nats fan. So I'm looking forward to getting up against your Mets and giving them the work in the NL East.
That's the part I'm not looking forward to. So that's the downside. Is that's the one negative for me is that you're going to be every year trying to take apart my Mets, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. But
Absolutely.
yes, a couple more here for Zack Konstantinovsky again as he now starts his new career with the Washington Nationals organization. So any concern? Speaking of which, a lot of players, and especially today, that there's a business end to this. So, does the thought ever cross your mind? Teams are always looking for prospects and different things. Does the thought ever cross your mind that you could get traded one day?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's a part of the, like you said, it's part of the business. It's what just the reality of baseball. And I think, as you're going out there, teams aren't going to miss good talent. So if you're someone out there who's performing and the organization that you're in, doesn't either have a spot in the big leagues or won't promote you, it doesn't mean that another team won't find you somewhere. So I'm going out there every day, just trying to get better, trying to develop and get to, maximize my potential. Whether, hopefully that's with the Nationals, with the team that drafted me, or, just in general, whatever team it may be, I'm just going to go out there, compete, and get to the big leagues to help, the big league club win.
Is the goal, speaking of which, and this will be my last question, is the goal to get there 3 to 4 years? Obviously, you want to get there as soon as you can, obviously, but is that a decent timetable for you, 3 to 4 years, or maybe you're thinking 2 to 3? Where do you feel like you want to be in terms of your timetable?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to put out there. Like you said, just getting there as quick as you can. But whatever that timetable may look like, I think just I want to be prepared and, like I said, maximize my potential to be at my best. So when one day when I do make it there, I'm ready to go and not only just make it to the big leagues, but stay in the big leagues for as long as I can. That's the goal. And whenever that day comes, um, you know 1, 2, 3+ years, doesn't matter when it is, I'll be reaching for that goal every day.
He is Zack Konstantinovsky, from North Brunswick to Nationals Park, and the journey of obviously still continues. And so Zack, nice enough to take a few minutes from his day, some of which he detailed, and to talk to us here on my 15th anniversary show. Zack, as always, I appreciate you doing it, and congratulations on where you are, and hopefully, where you're going, and look forward to it. Look forward to continue to see your progress. And so thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me on, and congratulations to you and your network. Again, thank you for all the work that you've done for North Brunswick. I'm sure everybody else is very grateful.